Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to another Quran study. God willing, today we'll be reading from Surah 7 verse 10. Let's all seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. We have established you on earth and we have provided for you the means of support therein. Rarely are you appreciative. We created you, then we shaped you, then we said to the angels, fall prostrate before Adam. They fell prostrate except Iblis, Satan. He was not with the prostrators. Oh, sorry, I think we've read that part, right? I got confused. We're starting from 27, right? Yeah, sorry. So we're starting from 7:27, not 7:10. I was confused. Yeah, why was I thinking 7:10? Okay, so 7:27. O children of Adam, do not let the devil dupe you, as he did when he caused the eviction of your parents from paradise, and the removal of their garments to expose their bodies. He and his tribe see you while you do not see them. We appoint the devils as companions of those who do not believe. So this is an important verse where God is letting us know that He wants us to be aware of the fact that the devil wants to dupe people with his lies, and this is how he did so for our parents, which means Adam and Eve, referring to Adam and Eve, and how it caused their eviction from paradise and the removal of their garments to expose their bodies. And it says he and his tribe, so Satan and his tribe sees us while we do not see them, right? So we do not see Satan, we do not see his tribe, which is the other jinns that are freed up. Jinns live for another 200-300 years after a person dies. His jinn lives on for a few hundred years, and so they are able to see humans, but we're not able to see them, of course. And God says we appoint the devils as companions of those who do not believe. So the devils we all have our jinns, right? But the disbelievers have jinns that are devils. They're devils among the jinns and devils among the humans. And the human devils and the jinn devils are companions of each other in this life. So every devil jinn has a devil human companion while this person's alive, and both of them will end up in hell. Subtitle: Examine all inherited information, verse 28. They commit a gross sin, then say, we found our parents doing this, and God has commanded us to do it. Say, God never advocates sin. Are you saying about God what you do not know? Say, my Lord advocates justice, and to stand devoted to Him alone at every place of worship. You shall devote your worship absolutely to Him alone. Just as He initiated you, you will ultimately go back to Him. So, as we can see here, God wants us to examine all inherited information. So people inherit information from previous generations, from their parents, from their grandparents, and they blindly follow that information without ever, examining it. If their parents are doing it, then they automatically assume that it's the right thing to do, and if the parents say it's from God, then They will never question it, most people. And so the commandment here for us is to examine all inherited information, examine all inherited information. That's not a job of the messenger to examine every person's culture and every person's religion and each and every practice and tell you, discard this and discard that. There will be tens of thousands, if not, millions of things that you have to get rid of, right? I mean, there'll be so many things because over the generations, there's so many different tribes and so many different cultures, so many different religions, so many different superstitions. And it's not the messenger's job to point at each and every one of them and tell you, or in the Quran for that matter, for God to tell you, this thing is wrong, this thing is wrong, this thing is wrong. No, God has given us the right information, and the messenger has explained it to us, and now it's up to us to compare that against anything else that we see. If it's in here, if it's according to what God says, only then we are supposed to carry it out, right? Otherwise, we're supposed to get rid of it. And so what people do is Satan wants to dupe them with lies, and Satan puts these lies in through the previous generations, and the people blindly follow them, right? I mean, this is an easy way, right? All Satan has to do is now dupe your parents, and then all the children are already duped. He doesn't have to do any work on them because they're not going to use their brains to try to examine any information they inherit from their parents. And so this is what happens, and this is what's been happening throughout humanity. People start innovations, and then the children carry them out blindly without questioning it. And so this is a gross sin, lying about God. They lie about God. Their parents, are carrying certain traditions and have certain information which is wrong, which is given to them by Satan, and without examining it, they want to follow it. So if Satan managed to send your parents to hell, then you're automatically putting yourself through hell too, because you refuse to use your brain. So they commit gross sins, God says. Then they say, we found our parents doing this, and God has commanded us to do it. So they commit the gross sin, then they say they found their parents doing it, but also not only that, they say, God has commanded us to do it. So this is the lie. So, for example, mutilating your children is one in the name of religion, disfiguring them for permanently, their genitals, or doing other things in the name of religion. But these are gross sins, taking someone's property of any kind is a gross sin. Attributing any lie to God is a gross sin, right? I mean, and God say God never advocates sin. So God would never advocate any kind of sin. And if someone thinks that God would advocate sin, these are evil thoughts about God. Any lie you attribute to God, any evil you attribute to God, you're not going to go to paradise. Because God says those are the most evil people on earth, whether they realize it or not. God allows them to do that based on the knowledge that He has about them and their intentions. Are you saying about God what you do not know? So He wants people to say about God what they don't know. Attribute lies to God knowingly. Say, my Lord advocates justice and to stand devoted to Him alone in every place of worship. You shall devote your worship absolutely to God alone. Just as He initiated you, you will ultimately go back to Him. So any place of worship should be dedicated to God alone. When we go to a masjid, it should be dedicated to God alone. And we cannot pray in idol worshipping masjids. So every place of worship, we can't pray in a church for that matter, or any other place of worship, as long as it's not dedicated to God alone. Beware, they believe that they are guided. Okay, some He guided while others are committed to straying. they have taken the devils as their masters instead of God, yet they believe that they're guided. So God is letting us know that beware, they believe they're guided. Right? I mean, so this is how amazing God's system is, right? That not only is Satan allowed to lead people astray, but those people that are led astray, I mean, God's system is so perfect that those people are astray without even knowing that they're astray. They are so convinced of their ways that they believe that they're guided. They consider themselves guided, not just guided, but like the most guided. Okay, the best. And so God says they've taken the devils as their master. So they're actually worshiping Satan. And they have no idea. They believe that they're on the right path, right? Satan is their God, and they think they're worshiping God. I mean, so many occasions, I see so many people, openly advocating worship of Satan, and they think they're advocating God's worship. They're advocating idol worship, and they're advocating Satan's way, and they say Jesus' way or God's way, whatever, and they're advocating worship of Satan. Doing any kind of practice that is not part of your religion and attributing it to God as part of your religion, and doing that is worshiping Satan. It's idol worship. Taking another source besides Quran as a source of law is idol worship. It's worshiping Satan, because Satan has attributed these lies to God. But all these people believe that they're guided, and these devils have been chosen. They're the best at convincing these people that they're on the right path. So they're so clever that they make these people go to hell in such a beautiful, I shouldn't say beautiful, but in such an expert manner that they don't even have a clue anymore that they're wrong. They're so convinced of their ways, they believe they're right. Verse 31, dress nicely for the masjid. O children of Adam, you shall be clean and dress nicely when you go to masjid, and eat and drink moderately. Surely he does not love the gluttons. So here, the commandment is to dress nicely when people go to masjid, and the idea behind that is to be inviting to other people. When you go to a place where people are clean and dressed nicely and everybody smells good, you want to go to that place again, versus a place where everybody's dressed really sloppy and untidy and everybody's smelling. You don't want to go to such a place again, right? Imagine going to a place like that. So you wouldn't want to go there, and so it would discourage other people from going. This is very important. People can be sweaty and smelly and wearing dirty clothes. And that just repels other people, literally. And so we don't want to do that, right? We want to be inviting to people, so other people like to go there. So we dress nicely. And God says, eat and drink moderately. He does not love the gluttons. So that is also an important part, especially when you go to the masjid, you have to dress nicely. But the eating and drinking moderately doesn't necessarily apply to you just being at the masjid, I think we should always dress nicely. We should always be clean and dress nicely, because you are an example of submission to other people, and you should always be inviting. And so if you're clean and dressed nicely, people will appreciate that, right? And like that about you. And same goes for being a glutton. We should not be like gluttons. We should be eating and drinking moderately, right? And the Messenger of the Covenant talks about what that means is you should. A lot of people will just eat until they're full, right? But he says you should stop before you have this feeling that you're full, that you can no longer eat. When you feel like you can no longer eat, you've actually overeaten, right? That's why your body's telling you stop, like no more, And that's when you stop, when your body doesn't have any more room. But we're supposed to stop before that, Not eating till you're full. God doesn't say eat till your bellies are filled up and you can no longer eat. God says eat moderately. So you leave some room, and it's important for your body to function, for your metabolism to function in the most effective manner that way. If you're fully overloaded all the time, it's going to take its toll on your body in many different ways, right? And it's like running a car that's always going full speed. Eventually, the car is going to give up, So something's going to burn out. Maybe that's not a great example, but I guess we get the picture on how the body works. It's a machine, just like any other machine. So it has its limitations, and you're supposed to run it according to how what the manual says. So God is our creator, and He's telling us to eat and drink moderately. So we better listen to God for all the right and practical reasons. And God says He does not love the gluttons. So that's important, right? I mean, maybe you should think about it, right? Why doesn't God love the gluttons? Because what are gluttons, I mean, why would gluttony be so bad, right? Because I guess one of the things is that you're unappreciative. You're unappreciative of the body that God has given you. You want to distort it. And you're unappreciative of the fact that, God has given you the provisions and you just want to waste them by, just basically shoving them into your mouth. And, not even being able to get the nutritional value out of them, the right way. And, if you have too much, you could give to charity, or you could save it for later, you don't have to eat everything. A lot of people would go to restaurants and places, and they feel like they have to finish it if they're served a lot that they don't want to waste, and so they keep eating until it's finished, but you can save it for later. Okay, prohibitions, innovative prohibitions condemned, verse 32. Say, who prohibited the nice things God has created for His creatures, and the good provisions? Say, such provisions are to be enjoyed in this life by those who believe. Moreover, the good provisions will be exclusively theirs on the day of resurrection. We thus explain the revelations for people who know. So God is telling us that the innovated prohibitions are condemned, right? And it is a big way of, unappreciating God. God has created us amazing provisions of different varieties, and then, we want to be arrogant and prohibit things that He didn't prohibit. And God says, prohibiting lawful food brings deprivation. And also the Messenger of the Covenant gave the example in one of the studies about how, people in certain countries are so poor just because they decide to make a lot of prohibitions, and God deprived them of so many things, and they're just so poor now just because of that reason, right? So being unappreciative and attributing lies to God, of course, innovative prohibitions, you're adding innovations. And God says, these things are to be enjoyed by the believers, Also, disbelievers are given them too, right? But on the day of judgment, God says these things will be exclusively reserved for the believers only, right? I mean, right now the disbelievers are enjoying certain things in this world temporarily, but on the day of judgment, they will not have access to, good food. They will just be the poorest, more poor than the poorest people that you can think of now on earth, right? Their standard of living is going to be worse than the most poor people, the homeless, worse than that, right? And so they're not going to get anything nice. They're not going to taste anything good. But in this world, they're going to get it. But obviously, the believers are supposed to enjoy them as well, right? So we shouldn't prohibit anything that God has not prohibited. Very important. Say, my Lord prohibits only evil deeds, be they obvious or hidden, and sins, and unjustifiable aggression, and to set up beside God powerless idols, and to say about God what you do not know. For each community, there is a predetermined lifespan. Once their interim comes to an end, they cannot delay it by 1 hour nor advance it. Okay, so, these verses are pretty self-explanatory, but God says He prohibits only evil deeds, be they obvious or hidden. So a lot of sins can be hidden, a lot of sins can be obvious. But a lot of sins can be hidden, a lot of sins can be obvious. And so God prohibits all of them, right? And unjustifiable aggression. You can see people aggressing upon other people unjustifiably. It's one thing that someone has done something and you justify, it's justified to go, for example, killing someone in the course of justice. Someone killed a member of your family and it's within the law of equivalence, and you can go after it if necessary. Or someone's committing horrendous crime and capital punishment is justified, you go after that person, But then unjustifiable aggression, committing atrocities, against innocent people for personal benefits, for material wealth and selfish reasons, God prohibits that, right? And God says for every community, there is a particular lifespan that every community is supposed to have, and after that they're annihilated or replaced. If they're disbelievers, they're definitely get a retributive disaster. But either way, everybody has to go, right? So everybody has a certain time limit that we cannot advance, and nobody can certainly live forever. There are many people trying right now to live forever. Quite literally, there's a person, I was just reading about it the other day, an Australian guy who lives here in LA, just not too far from me here, in Venice, and it's about maybe 5-10 minutes away. And he is spending all his wealth wanting to live forever, right? Literally, he wants to live forever, and doing research and everything, and has a special regimen for his whole day. And he's like taking more than 100 pills a day. His name is Brian something, I forgot his last name. And he wants to live forever, right? And he's doing his research, and I think he sleeps in a certain special pod, and wakes up and exercises in a certain surrounding and everything. Just ridiculous. But at the end, obviously he's going to learn that he can't stop. I think he started like 7-8 years ago, maybe. So he's going to find out. So messengers from among you, verse 35. O children of Adam, when messengers come to you from among you and recite my revelations to you, those who take heed and lead a righteous life will have nothing to fear, nor will they grieve. As for those who reject our revelations and are too arrogant to uphold them, they have incurred hell, wherein they abide forever. Who's more evil than those who invent lies about God or reject His revelations? These will get their share in accordance with the Scripture. Then when our messengers come to terminate their lives, they will say, where are the idols you used to implore beside God? They will say, they have abandoned us. They will bear witness against themselves that they were disbelievers. So God says that He sends messengers from among us. Among humans, He sends messengers. And God says, when these messengers come to you, those who follow the guidance of the messengers will have nothing to fear, nor will they grieve. And obviously, God is so merciful that He wants us to choose the right path. Even though He has given us a natural instinct, He has a system in place where He sends these messengers to guide us, to to counter what Satan's doing, and to guide the believers to let the true believers have an advantage against the devil, so he can't dupe them with his lies. And so they come with the right information. It's like you're living in a test. You're taking a test, but the answers are available. The way to succeed is there. All you just have to do is just do it, right? Just do it. It's not that you have to figure out even what those answers are. I mean, at least you know the answers, right? You know the formula, right? So you have the formula to succeed. You just have to do it. But most people don't even want to do that, right? So whose fault is it then? It's not God's fault, obviously. It's the person's failure to uphold God's law, right? For whatever else they chose that was more valuable to them. And God says, those who reject our revelations and are too arrogant to uphold them, they will abide forever in hell, right? Forever, meaning that they will never get out. So all those people who think that Jesus will save them, or Muhammad will save them, or their cousin or their son or their uncle will save them, nobody can save anybody. And if you deserve to go to hell, you will go to hell, and you will burn and suffer for eternity. And same goes for paradise. Once you enter paradise, you cannot go to hell. Heaven and hell are forever. And then God says we're more evil than those who invent lies about God, right? And so the worst lies that can be attributed to anyone, are the lies that are attributed towards God. They're obviously you attribute a lie to a person, that's one thing, but then you're attributing a lie to the creator of the universe, and you're telling other people. And then the most horrendous of those lies that you can attribute to God is to say that God has inspired you as a messenger, and that's a messenger of Satan, and those are the worst lies, right? And we recently saw that too, with this crazy person from Azerbaijan who was pretending to be a messenger with his misspelled name and just trying to make multiple and using that as his proof. And God says that when our messengers come to terminate their lives, so that these are talking about the angels as God's messengers, when those angels come to terminate their lives, these idols, these people have these idols. Now Satan is their idol, the devil is who they're following. And so all of whatever idols that they have, anybody, whatever idols they have, obviously they will disown one another and abandon each other. So they will say they have abandoned us. And that is a sorry condition for these people, but at the same time, when you think about it, it's really it's really like a very comforting statement to think about when you see all these people and how they swear upon their idols that they will save them, and how they jubilantly and with a lot of zest and enthusiasm and passion are going there and promoting their idols, right? And saying, they will save them and this, and writing songs about them and praising them day and night, right? So imagine when they make that statement, how ashamed they will be when they make that statement, right? So imagine it's going about their whole lives talking about how Jesus will save them or how Muhammad will intercede on their behalf, and then really expecting that, their devils make them believe that they're on the right path and they're actually worshiping God. And so when they go, when they're finally able to see, this is just going to be shameful for these people. I should probably speed up a little bit, actually. So, mutual blaming, verse 38, says, he will say, enter with the previous communities of jinns and humans into hell. Every time a group enters, they will curse their ancestral group. Once they're in hell, once they're all in it, the latest one will say of the previous one, our Lord, these are the ones who misled us. Give them double the retribution of hell. He will say, each receives double, but you do not know. The ancestral group will say to the later group, since you had an advantage over us, taste the retribution for your own sins. Rejecting God's revelations an unforgivable offense. Surely those who reject our revelations and are too arrogant to uphold them, the gates of the sky will never open for them, nor will they enter paradise until the camel passes through the needle's eye. We thus required the guilty. They have incurred hell as an abode. They will have barriers above them. We thus required the transgressors. As for those who believe and lead a righteous life, we never burden any soul beyond its means. They will be the dwellers of paradise. They abide in it forever. By God's grace, 43, we will remove all jealousy from their hearts. Rivers will flow beneath them, and they will say, God be praised for guiding us. We could not possibly be guided if it were not that God has guided us. The messengers of our Lord did bring the truth. They will be called, this is your paradise, you have inherited it in return for your works. The dwellers of paradise will call the dwellers of hell. We have found our Lord's promise to be the truth. Have you found your Lord's promise to be the truth? They will say yes. An announcer between them will announce, God's condemnation has befallen the transgressors who repel from the path of God and strive to make it crooked, and with regard to the hereafter, they're disbelievers. So mutual blaming is something that will take place in the hereafter, right? I mean, when these people go to hell, the people who they misled will tell about the people that are just got in. They're like, these are the people that misled us, because hell is not created, right? So they will all go around the same time. It's not like paradise where people are already there and other people are going after them as they live. I mean, it will just be created, and so all these people are waiting. And so when they all go to hell, this whole drama will just start like at the same time. Like just think about it, right? I mean, so they all enter paradise around, hell around the same time, right? And they're like, oh, these are the people that brought us to hell, God, double the retribution for them. And then, but then God says, every one of you receives double because you also misguided so many people, then they misguided other people, so that you all receive double. This is horrible. And so God says that this is what's going to happen, and God says those who reject God's revelations, they will not enter paradise until the camel passes through the needle's eye, right? And I remember it made me smile because I remember this one guy who was a hypocrite, and he actually literally believed that, and he said it's like everything's possible for God, so on the day of judgment, what will happen, see how they'll lie about God. So it's like, on the day of judgment, God will allow a camel, he'll make a camel so small that he'll pass through a needle, and then God will allow these people to go to heaven. This person called himself a submitter. And so he came up with this lie, and was convinced that this is the truth. Because he says, oh, God is so merciful, Of course, God is also most strict in enforcing retribution. So this is a parable. This is an allegory to say until a camel passes through a needle's eye. So a camel will never pass through needles. The biggest needle will have a hole like this big, right? And the smallest camel will be like, I don't know, very tall still. So it's a physical impossibility. So God is telling you it's a physical impossibility. If a camel can pass, it's like someone says, oh yeah, when pigs fly, this thing's going to happen. And then you're going to say, oh yeah, then God will create pigs that will fly, and then this thing will actually happen, right? Because God can do anything. That is just ridiculous. So we have to remember that. It's never going to happen. This is meaning God has a system in place that works across the board for everyone, and He's going to have that system. His system is unchangeable, and this is His law. This is never going to happen, right? And then God says, on the day of judgment, the believers that will be in paradise, God will allow them to go to paradise, and God will let them know that, these are the rewards for everything that they did in this life, for they persevered, and they led a righteous life. This is what they deserve. They will be welcomed, right? Rivers will flow beneath them, and they will say, praise be to God for guiding us. These are the people that are in heaven. They're not proud of being so smart to go to heaven or being so righteous that they're in heaven. They're saying, thank God for guiding us. If it wasn't for God's guidance, we could never be guided. And it's true. God is the only one who guides us. There's nothing great about us or smart about us. God is the one who sends this guidance, and He allowed us to see it. And if we don't acknowledge that, we're obviously worshiping our egos, right? So obviously, because you will see people in hell that will be smarter than you in this world, will be more intelligent than you in so many ways, and so you will know that there's nothing great of you. Other people were there, and there'll be similar circumstances. And they will not be in heaven, but the believers will be. The believers will see, and they know, of course, because God is the only one who guides. And without His guidance, nothing is possible. And of course, in this test, it's so difficult. Anybody who thinks that they can just make it on their own without God's guidance is basically just fooling themselves. That's why we're asking God to guide us in the right path. Every time we recite the Al-Fatiha, we're asking God to guide us in the right path. Guide us. Because as long as you're in this test, you need that guidance constantly from God. So we have to remember that. And this is what they will say on the day of judgment also. And then they'll say, we found God's promise to be the truth. Did you find God's promise to be the truth? Obviously, they heard God's promise, but they never believed it. They even said it with lip service. Yeah, God's promise is the truth. God promises the truth. All hypocrites say that, right? All these people say they believe in the hereafter, but they don't, and they'll end up in hell. And so who are these people? They're the people who repel from the path of God, who strive to make the path crooked. They strive to promote innovations, they strive to promote lies, and so they will be in hell. Like the verse says, they strive to make it crooked, and with regard to the hereafter, they're disbelievers. They never truly believed in it from their heart, which is why God lets them take on this path. Verse 46, a barrier separates them while the purgatory is occupied by people who recognize each side by their looks. They will call the dwellers of paradise, peace be upon you. They did not enter paradise through wishful thinking. When they turn their eyes towards the dwellers of hell, they will say, our Lord, do not put us with these wicked people. The majority doomed, the dwellers of the purgatory will call on the people they recognize by their looks, saying, your great numbers did not avail you in any way, nor did your arrogance. Are those the people you swore that God will never touch them with mercy? The people in the purgatory will then be told, enter paradise, you have nothing to fear, nor will you grieve. And the footnote for 46 to 49 says, initially there will be 4 places: 1, the high heaven; 2, the lower heaven; 3, the purgatory; and 4, hell. The purgatory will be annexed into the lower heaven. So as we know, the title of this surah is the purgatory, and these are the verses that mention purgatory. And God says that the majority of the people are doomed. These are the people that are in the great numbers, and God says their great numbers are useless because eventually they're all going to hell, right? And so they will look at the believers, the people in the purgatory will look at the believers, and they'll know that they didn't enter paradise through wishful thinking, right? Meaning they worked hard for it. They prepared for it, They didn't just, it just ended up in paradise, just messing around, right? And then they'll look at the disbelievers and they'll realize that they're the most evil people. They don't want to be with them, and they don't want to burn in hell for sure. So they will pray to God to allow them to be with the righteous. And God, out of His mercy, now these are the people that, obviously, these are not people that were deserving to go to hell. These are the people that have, good deeds, bad deeds, but, not enough to just make it to lower heaven. So they're stuck in the middle. And just God, out of His mercy, has this. God didn't need to create a purgatory, right? If you take purgatory out of it, there are people who are just like bad, and there are people who are good, and then there are people that are very good, but then in the middle, they still don't have enough credits, but like they're stuck, right? And so God will allow them, out of His mercy, to enter paradise. This is because God is so kind and merciful. That's His attribute. So out of His mercy, He lets them enter paradise. And on the Day of Judgment, the purgatory will be part of heaven. Now, people make all kinds of jokes about purgatory, but purgatory is a real thing, as we know from the Quran. And the believers that did not quite have enough credits to make it to lower heaven will be there, and then will join the rest of the believers. So with this, God willing, I will end. If you guys have any comments or questions, please feel free. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thanks.
God bless you.
MashaAllah, brother.
MashaAllah, God bless you.
What was that, Huda? All right, guys. Anybody has any comments or questions?
Yeah, mashallah. That's a real good point about the eating, and drinking moderation, and good reminder even for myself, and I 100% agree. We don't eat until we're full because it says moderation, that means not until you can't go anymore, and it just, another thing, the body wants food and all that, so mashallah. I'm glad I heard that.
Yeah, mashallah. And this is kind of interesting. I always found it interesting. Well, definitely first time when I read it, because you see all these traditional Muslims, corrupted Muslims, and if you look at all their scholars, I mean, they have huge bellies, like huge in certain countries more than others, actually. But all they do is just, it seems like, just sit and eat so much, and the bigger their bellies are, like the bigger their ranks are.
Yeah, like the more righteous they are or something. Yeah,
No,
it's like
they have
makes
ranks,
sense,
It's like they have ranks.
Right.
So it's like, one is like the president, and then you have the vice president. And so the one with the biggest belly will be the president, and then before that will be the vice president, and so forth. Like, so the bigger your belly is, shows like how higher in up the chain you are, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, for health, it's it makes so much sense, and even in the respect of our aspect, I mean, of health, because like you said, that was a good example, because you give too much fuel to a vehicle, or you run it, just like you could run the body, and I'm trying to digest all the food, so you're gonna just sit in the problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Yeah. So I want to make a comment, but this is my understanding. So 7:31. So dress nicely for the masjid. One second.
Mm-hmm.
In New York now is trying for Maghrib anyway. So where is my verses I was reading? Yeah, so O children of Adam, you shall be clean and dress nicely when you go to the masjid. So from this verse, what I understand, so building a masjid for the prayer, separate from the house. So it's like the old concept. So the people used to build a masjid for the prayer, because God saying when you go to the masjid, so people used to build a masjid for the prayer. So that's my understanding from this verse.
So, okay, so I mean, doesn't mean that you can't build a place. Build a masjid, right? A masjid is a place where people come together and do their prayer, like congregate, right?
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So even somebody makes a masjid, and not everybody's praying in their home. People will the masjid might be in your house, but then other people are coming to the masjid, right?
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's why it says when you go to the masjid, it's a place where other people will come as well. And so God is telling you to dress nicely when you go there. So that's inviting for other people to join you as well.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but yeah,
But it's
so
not-
people also you can make the separate prayer room for you can pray at home, so you can build a masjid also the temporary for any home, but also this is a kind of like I am getting sense that when you go to the masjid, so masjid can be at a home also. It's okay, but it look like it's something special when you go to the masjid. This my understanding from this part.
Yeah.
And I also say something about the Surah 38, 738, mutual blaming. So about the ancestral group, when we in our traditional, Muslim, so we people always praying, for their father, their grandfather, they don't know they are believer or disbeliever. They hope everybody will go to heaven, something like that, and they are praying a lot for all of them. So, but in the day of judgment, in the hereafter, so actually we are the one. If we will blame our ancestor group, even our father or grandfather, because if they are the disbeliever. So in this life, we are, praying for them. But in the hereafter, if they are the disbeliever and we also the disbeliever, so we'll see, when we see the truth in front of God, so we will blame them, even though we are praying for them. But in that day, we'll blame them, and we even curse them to give them double the retribution. So that's my understanding, from this verse 738.
Assalamu alaikum. So, Brother Nizam, I believe, inshallah, if we make it, we won't be among those who are going to blame others because we didn't follow them. We didn't follow the ancestors. Those who followed their ancestors, they will blame them mutually.
Yeah, you are correct. I am just asking. I am just, telling, speaking about the general people. That the people, or the disbeliever, but they are praying for them. For their mother and father, they love too much. But on that day, they will be, if their mother is disbeliever and they die as a disbeliever, on that day, they'll blame each other, they'll not, love them that day, they'll curse them, that's my understanding, yeah. So if we inshallah, if we die as a believer, so we are not going to complain because, that's me.
Yeah, and imagine all the people in this world, who are trying to preserve their friendships, and for that reason they're doing all this idol worship and innovations, so that they can preserve their friendship. On the day of judgment, they will be cursing one another, and blaming one another.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes, I see the Facebook status, sometimes from the traditional Muslim, the other people, like the father on Father's Day or Mother's Day, please forgive all the mother, and give to Jannah for all the mothers, for all the fathers, They are asking forgiveness for all the people.
Interesting.
Without knowing them, anybody, it's just...
Yeah, and then you also see, one thing I also see is that when someone and their families pass away, they say, oh, may God give this person the highest place in Jannah, That's like, it's
every
like
time, you know, yeah, the
paradise is
highest
for
one,
free.
yeah.
Just anybody, no matter how evil they are, you know, if they once they pass away, they ask
Yeah,
God
yeah,
to
yeah.
give them the place in the highest heaven,
Highest one, yeah.
which shows that they don't believe in heaven. They don't believe in
Yes, yes.
day of judgment.
Also, there's this hadith. I've heard it in Iran. That whoever becomes a mother, they're like automatically, heaven belongs to them. So this is like the saying is that the heaven is under the feet of mothers. So it's like automatically after the birth it happens. That's what they assume.
I think it goes like when they say heaven is in their mother's feet, it means like you respect your mother, and you'll go to heaven, basically, you know. So if you disrespect your mother, you will not go to heaven, because
Yeah, of course. But you can respect your mom, but be an idol worshiper, so still you're not gonna make it.
yeah.
So yeah. But definitely, you should respect your mom. Inshallah.
Yeah, people have made all kinds of jokes about that too. So we see in verse 48, you know, these are the people that God says their great numbers did not avail them, right? So there are people who are in hell, says, your great numbers did not avail you in any way in order to your arrogance. Right? So the people in this world they're very arrogant, and they're most proud of their great numbers, that you know they feel like they're in the majority, and they look at the people in the minority, they look down upon them because they think they're wrong because they're so few, right? But we know that the majority of people are going to hell. The majority is doomed.
I mean, Day of Judgment is a great day. I mean, it's an awesome day. Not that it's like perfect, no, but it's going to be like, we know majority of people won't make it. This has been told to us in the Quran, but majority of them are disbelievers. And you know, on that day, like all the curtains are just falling. Like that's it. And, you know, there's nothing to hide. You cannot hide anything. Like in this world, you can easily hide your thoughts or your feelings and whatever, but there, that is it. Everything just is out. Even we are our own judge, because we've got our script in our hand. We know what we've done. We can look at ourselves and see in what a state we are, compare ourselves to the others. And, you know, it's just a terrible day for those people that have not believed. I mean, we read that, you know, the idols, those people that they have idolized, but they've just like abandoned them. Imagine all these Christians that go to church and they just worship Jesus. Imagine how they would react when they see like a man that they say, look, here, this is Jesus. And they said like, oh, Jesus, we did this and that. And then we read what Jesus tells them. Like, you know, you're liars. I never said that you should worship me, you know. And imagine what would they feel? I mean, the greatest loss. That's it. Your life is gone. Your opportunity is gone. Finished. Now you are on your own. You're going to hell. Christians, Muslims that have got God's final testament. They've got pure words of God in our hand, you know. their responsibility is much, much higher. And when they see a prophet, when they see the other messengers or other idols that they have set up, and they see that they just abandon them, it's just like a man like themselves. He has no idea who these people are. I don't know you. Like, who are you? You know, that would be the greatest loss. That would be such a shock. That I can't imagine how it would be. Like a majority of people that have idolized saints and prophets and messengers and all that, on that day, that would be the greatest loss. When they see God and when they see these people, they are just like actually worried about themselves. They don't care about these people. They have not seen these people. They don't even know these people. And even these people, when they see that person, it's just a person like themselves. You know, how could they have done that? And like it's an awesome day. May God help us prepare ourselves for that day, inshallah. Because that's it. The day of mutual blaming. It's another name for the day of judgment, the day of mutual blaming, the day of resurrection. It's got different names, but it's going to be an awesome day. And the whole point, throughout the Quran, God says, the day will come, beware, the day will come. And all the messengers and prophets, since Noah, we read that they say, like, the day will come. Of course, the day will come. Our opportunity in this world is as long as our life is. Once our life is ended in this world, that's it. We don't have any other opportunity. So that shows how important it is for us to actually use our life, use this gift that God has given to us, be appreciative, and try to, inshallah, strengthen our souls so that on that day when God comes down with his angels, we wouldn't be one of those that, he wouldn't look at us or he wouldn't talk to us. God says that he wouldn't even look at them or talk to them. And those people that are disbelievers, that they just literally cannot talk on that day. So, these are all the reminders, and, it's going to be an awesome day.
Yeah, a lot of them will tell you they have a personal relationship with Jesus, and it's just kind of like what you said. It's so out of whack, because it's like you don't even know this person, you've never seen him, he doesn't know you, you don't know him, and they're talking about just weird, using weird intimate terms. I've seen that a lot, and it's just not smart.
That's the Satan, he's making these idol worship practices and all that look fancy in their eyes. They think they're very righteous. They think they're like close to God, but that's what Satan has promised. We read the other day that like Satan said like respite me, and where was it? And God says, be careful that he wouldn't dupe you like he duped your parents. Where is that verse? We just read it, I think. Children of Adam, verse 27. Children of Adam, do not let the devil dupe you as he did when he caused the eviction of your parents from paradise. And when you think about it, eviction of our parents from paradise, oh my God, it shows how weak we are. Unless God protects us, as he has promised he would protect those that, devote themselves absolutely to him alone, we have no chance. What did our parents do? They just picked up and like allegorically or non-allegorically, I don't know, but they just had a fruit that they were not supposed to have, you know, and they were like living in luxury. They were living in paradise. Everything was there for them. They were enjoying life, you know, and then this Satan comes and said like, oh, you're missing on things. You're not. God is telling you not to eat it so that you wouldn't become eternal, or you wouldn't become like angels. Have it. It's okay. You know, he lies to them, and then they go ahead and do it, and that's it. Out of paradise. So that shows how weak we are and how stupid we can be. So it's not to be taken lightly, inshallah. I mean, like, there's a lot going on in this world. We've got like the devils trying to attack from every side. We've got our companion that is telling us different things. We've got all sorts of things around us, you know, that our daily lives, money, job, children, spouse, family, all that. And we have to be very careful. None of these should prevent us, inshallah, from remembering God and doing our contact prayers, not forgetting to pay our zakats, inshallah. And generally be a good person. I mean, there is this verse that is very nicely summarized everything, like verse 33, say, my Lord prohibits only evil deeds, right? Be they obvious or hidden, and sins, we know what sins are, and unjustifiable aggression, and to set up besides God powerless idols, and to say about God what we do not know. So this is very nicely has, you know, summarized all the things that we should be aware of. So inshallah, we should remind ourselves day after day to be aware of God in whatever we say, do, and throughout the day, inshallah, so that we will be guided and safe, inshallah.
So I think Brother Abdullah has a question about wishful thinking, right? What would be an example of wishful thinking? I mean, it's like, you know, just, you know, thinking that, let's say you are going to get something, or you're going to do something, but you have no means of doing it. It's just a thought that you have that feels good to think about it, and then you think that you know, this will happen, right, for you. I mean, there's so many examples I can think of, but none of them seems most appropriate. But let's say, you know, let's say, like, you know, you have an exam, and you don't study for it, but you like the idea of being the top of your class, and so you start thinking, oh, you're gonna be in the top of your class, but you haven't done anything. You just like the idea, and you keep thinking about it, and you think, you know, it's something that it's a good thought, that, you know, you like the idea of it, and then you start believing it, but you actually haven't done any work for it, so it's not even gonna happen. You know, so that's wishful thinking. It's wishful thinking that you're gonna be the top of your class when you're not even studying, for example.
Yeah, we also have people from you know, the religious people say, oh, God forgets, it's okay, don't worry about it, or you will not be burnt in hell, there's no such thing as hell, you know, all sorts of things, all sorts of lies that they've come up with in relation to the hereafter. You know, not all the previous, you know, the Christians and Jews, I don't know how much they believe in the heavens and hell. Like, it has been told in the Quran. I don't believe they do. And some of them actually do, like, I think it's in Judaism that they say you will not be burned in hell for eternity. It's just like for a little short while, and then you will go to heaven. Or I think the Christians say like Jesus will come and save you, or through Jesus you will be saved, or something like that. So if you believe in Jesus in this world, in the hereafter, he just takes you to the heaven, to the eternal heavens, to live with him in there, something like that. So it's all visual thinking. This is all conjecture. So, and we've got heaven and hell described in the Quran. I mean, like the descriptions of hell are horrific. Like, you know, like you're confined in this small place. You know, hot things are poured over you, things like that. Yeah. But I don't believe any of those believe in that. They just believe that everything is just love and nice, wishy-washy stuff.
So, Abdullah, another example would be, let's say, you know, you're a terrible cook, right? But you want to be a millionaire. So you think you're going to open a restaurant and people are going to love your food so much that you're going to be a millionaire overnight. Right? I also posted the definition of wishful thinking, so you can look at some other examples, right? But the fact is, if you're a terrible cook, nobody's going to come to your restaurant. You're going to go bankrupt, right? But you like the thought of being a billionaire. You're like, oh yeah, everybody's going to love it. And you don't want to think about the fact that you're a terrible cook. You're in denial.
Yeah, exactly. MashaAllah, in denial. I was just talking to somebody today, and
hello? John, I think you're in mute again. What happened?
I don't think you said Jesus.
Sorry, John.
But
I think we lost.
It's crazy, you know, the justification and wishful thinking. He's going to go do something bad, and then he's going to just.
John, I think we lost you for a second, my connection or something. So, do you mind starting over your comment?
Oh, could you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, yeah, so this guy, he's telling me something like he was going to do pretty bad today, moral-wise, and I was just warning him. I'm like, man, that's not in your best interest. It's going to cause you pain and suffering, and then I brought, can you still hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I brought God into the conversation, and he seemed open to that, but he just told me he did feel a little guilt tripped about, you know, what I was telling him. But then immediately, like, he kind of stood back and then, you know, said, you know, well, God's forgiving, you know, and you know, God does forgive. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, man, like, where do you even start with these people? Because it's like I wanted to tell him so much, but and sometimes I'm just like, man, someone, and I'm not saying he's so far gone, but just the stuff he was telling me, I was just like listening and just said a few things, kept the conversation short after that, and just wish the best for him, you know. But yeah, just the wishful thinking that, you know, you can do this and that. And then he's going to be forgiven, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if he already knows what he's doing is wrong, that means he's going to pay the price for it, which is happiness. It's not like...
Yeah, and I told him that. I said, yeah, your family and everything, you're going to have misery. And then it kind of made him think, and then we talked a little longer, and he's like, oh, I'm glad we talked. But who knows, you know, what he's going to decide to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of this one Jewish guy, you know, that I came to talk to, and he was having sex with all different women, you know, and when I spoke to him about it, he was like, oh, well, what can I do? You know, my mother's dying of cancer. And he's trying to, I'm like, oh,
Wow.
it's like your mother's dying of cancer, and this is what you're doing. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. They come up with these insanely stupid excuses. That's his excuse wasn't like that, but it was in the same ballpark, you know. But yeah, it's just the rationalization. And I think these people like the idea, you know. And I think what you or Sister Mona was touching on, they're attracted to it because it's. I mean, it's I don't know how they could be, but I mean the idea of going to do whatever you want and not paying the consequences would only be attractive to like maybe a real bad person, I'm guessing. Or they like the idea of like Christians, you know, they can do whatever they want and Jesus is their ticket out. You know, it's easy to believe that, it's comfortable, you know, but if you tell them no, everything has a consequence, everything's recorded. Like I've done before, it's almost like it's painful for them to acknowledge that.
Well, it's like, if your mother's dying of cancer, you should be turning to God and praying to Him.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Praying for her help and your help too. That He helps support you, keeps you happy, and supports her.
Yeah, the thing is, when people commit sins knowingly, it's not, God says, you know, He forgives people who repent, who commit sins out of ignorance and they repent. You know, but people who just commit sins knowingly and saying, oh yeah, God is going to forgive me, that's also wishful thinking. You know, no, you're not, He's not going to forgive you, you're going to pay the price for it. And you're going to, and especially for people who know, they're going to pay the price like big time, yeah. That's interesting that they know too, you know, and then they just like to wash it off.
Yeah, that's true. They, I guess it's their devil or companion is winning. Because it did seem like, you know, there's probably debates going inside their head, you know, or like this guy's, but it seems like he's, you know, his devil or something is convincing him otherwise. And I kind of told him that, and he got kind of interested in the idea of, I didn't use the word jinn, I just used, you know, Satan or devil, and he started listening, you know. So, I mean, mashallah. So you knew someone that wanted to, he wanted to live forever?
Yeah, I was just reading, I mean, I haven't met him, but he lives here.
That's crazy.
Australian guy, yeah. He's taking more than 100 pills a day.
Right, probably all these herbs and vitamins and stuff, and thinking it's gonna.
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
That must, you know, like you get with him using and having to stick to this strict regimen. I mean, that's not. I mean, I don't know what he does, but that can't be fun doing that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it just shows like how like he's miserable, maybe miserable at a certain level.
Yeah, his name is Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna post this.
Oh
link
yeah.
Here. I'm gonna post this link here in the
He
chat.
spent about a couple of £1 million a year on supplements. He wants to stay young forever. It was on news the other day.
Yeah. Takes 111 pills every day, wearing a baseball cap that shoots red light into his scalp, collecting his own stool samples, and sleeping with a tiny jetpack attached to his penis to monitor his nighttime erections. Okay. He thinks of any act that accelerates aging, like eating a cookie or getting less than 8 hours of sleep, as an act of violence. It's crazy.
You would think, you know, like, and this is what at least I would think, you know, like out of all the billionaires that have lived and died, or I mean, extremely rich people that are now dead. I mean, just in the last decade, like some of their, you would think, like common sense would tell them, you know, if they passed away with all the money, resources, and quote unquote power they had, they would have figured it out. But that's not the case. I guess he thinks he's different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll probably never run into him because you'll never go to any public restaurant or any place. You'll not see him.
Yeah, he's-
We're very blessed by God to have been shown what the purpose of life is, some of these things that we read is just because they don't understand why we are here in this world. A lot of people don't understand it. And I think I don't think it is a great blessing from God that a messenger of God has explained why we are here in this world and what we need to do. And this has given a great meaning to our lives. And, it has made it meaningful, inshallah. And, it's a win-win situation. So we know if we want to have an even better life in the hereafter, what we need to do. So it's a great blessing. I mean, praise God for His mercy.
So I have a question. I might have asked this before a few months ago, but so if you're around a person that's using like bad language here and there, and I mean, also taking in mind like I'm really minimizing my time around this person. I might see him once a month at work or something. But it's you hear nasty things come out their mouth. They're complaining about this or that. Does any sin befall on you? Like if you're having to repair something or do some type of work alongside him for 10 minutes or 30 minutes, and you just it's just not good words and
No, I mean he's just working with you. You're not even choosing to be
right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't even like
him.
this bro. I don't even like him or his attitude. But it just kind of makes me feel off, when I'm hearing him say this. But okay, but yeah, I get out of there as soon as work's done.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't like to hear him talk, you can always just like put on your headphones or something and.
Yeah, I actually have some earplugs to I can use that. Okay. Mashallah.
Like, oh, sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah. Right. Mashallah. Yeah, and I mean, also on my part, just to be safe, I've told these people before, a few different people, and like, kind of in a real cool, nice way. I was like, yeah, I'll bring it into the conversation about using profanity or this or being negative, and I said, yeah, my life. I said your life will get so much better and you'll be happier like when you speak not using these words, and you'll sound better, you'll sound smarter and not you know, and then a few of them, someone was like, yeah, man, you're right. I need to stop, you know, like, so, you know, just to make sure I'm covering myself, like I'm not, maybe inviting them to not, you know, speak like that anymore. And then there's the one person I'm talking about that I don't think can be helped, you know, it's just, yeah.
Well, all right, mashallah. I mean, if there's no other comments or questions, maybe we can conclude the study, God willing. Thank you all for joining us. God willing, our next English Quran study would be on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
God bless you. Thank you, brother. Assalamu
Thank
alaikum.
you. Assalamu alaikum.